At its peak, BYJU'S was worth $22 billion. Its name appeared on India's cricket jersey. It sponsored the FIFA World Cup. Investors treated it as the future of education, and its founder became one of India's most celebrated entrepreneurs. But within a few years, the company was fighting insolvency proceedings. Salaries went unpaid. Auditors resigned. Investors turned against the leadership. Lenders chased more than $1 billion in disputed debt. And in 2026, around 200,000 BYJU'S tablets were reportedly sitting unused in a warehouse near Bengaluru. How did a teacher build the world's most valuable education technology startup and lose control of it so quickly? This is the rise, the ambition, and the collapse of BYJU'S, from teacher to entrepreneur. Long before the billion-dollar valuation, Byjus Ravindran was known for teaching mathematics. An engineer by training, he began helping friends prepare for competitive examinations. His classes grew from small groups to packed halls. Students were not only buying lessons, they were buying his energy, confidence, and ability to make difficult ideas feel simple. In 2011, Ravindran and his team created Think and Learn. 4 years later, they launched the BYJU'S Learning app. The timing was powerful. India had millions of ambitious students, anxious parents, growing smartphone access, and intense competition for school and entrance examinations. BYJU'S promised something different from the traditional classroom: colorful visual lessons, personalized learning, and the freedom to study anywhere. The company was no longer limited by the number of seats in a classroom. One recorded lesson could reach millions. The pandemic explosion. Then the pandemic arrived. Schools closed. Families were pushed toward online learning almost overnight. Demand for education apps exploded, and BYJU'S was perfectly positioned to benefit. The company said tens of millions of new students joined its platform during the lockdown period. Money poured in from global investors. The valuation climbed to $22 billion in 2022, making BYJU'S the world's most valuable EdTech startup. Its ambition seemed unlimited. The brand appeared on the Indian cricket team's jersey. Byjus became an official sponsor of the 2022 FIFA World Cup. To the public, it looked less like an education company and more like a global technology empire being built from Bengaluru. But rapid growth created a dangerous belief that the pandemic boom would continue forever. Growth at any cost. Byjus began buying companies at extraordinary speed. It acquired coding platform White Hat Jr. It bought test preparation company Byjus in a deal valued at around $1 billion. It expanded through businesses such as Epic, Great Learning, Topper, Tinker, and GeoGebra. Each purchase offered a new market, a new age group, or a new country. On paper, BYJU'S was creating an education ecosystem that could serve a student from childhood to professional training. But acquisitions do not become successful merely because they are completed. They must be integrated. Their costs must be controlled. Their customers must remain. And the company must generate enough cash to support the entire structure. Byjus was growing faster than its systems, finances, and governance could comfortably handle. Debt and warning signs. In 2021, the company also raised a $1.2 billion term loan from overseas lenders. Debt can accelerate growth when business is expanding, but it can become a trap when growth slows. As students returned to physical classrooms, the online learning boom weakened. Marketing remained expensive. Acquired businesses needed money. Losses remained large. And the company's financial reporting began arriving late. The delay was not a minor accounting problem. Investors and lenders depend on audited statements to understand where money is going and whether a company can meet its obligations. In 2023, Deloitte resigned as BYJU'S auditor, citing long-delayed financial statements and the absence of necessary documents. 3 representatives of major investors also left the company's board. The story had changed. The same investors who had once competed to fund BYJU'S were now questioning its governance. Some pushed for leadership changes. Valuation estimates collapsed from $22 billion to a fraction of that figure. Trust, once lost, can destroy a company faster than falling sales. The crisis becomes international. At the same time, BYJU'S entered a bitter dispute with its overseas lenders. The lenders alleged defaults and mismanagement connected to the term loan and sought recovery through courts in several countries. Byjus and Byju Ravindran denied wrongdoing and challenged the lenders' claims. The legal conflict became complicated, international, and expensive. Meanwhile, the pressure reached employees. Some reported going months without salaries. The company attempted layoffs, cost reductions, asset sales, and a deeply discounted rights issue to raise emergency funds. But the crisis kept expanding. Every solution created another dispute. Every delay weakened confidence. And every legal battle consumed time and money the company could no longer afford to lose. The insolvency trigger. The event that formally pushed the Indian parent company into insolvency was not the billion-dollar overseas loan. It was a dispute over unpaid sponsorship dues to the Board of Control for Cricket in India. In July 2024, an Indian tribunal admitted insolvency proceedings against Think and Learn over approximately $19 million owed to the BCCI. Control shifted away from the company's existing board to a court-appointed resolution professional. A settlement was announced, challenged, and taken through further court proceedings. By 2026, the insolvency process was still unresolved. Reports described warehouses containing around 200,000 unused BYJU'S tablets, along with laptops, routers, headphones, and other equipment. Objects once meant to represent the future of learning had become unsold assets in an insolvency process. What actually destroyed BYJU'S? There was no single moment that destroyed BYJU'S. The pandemic did not cause the collapse. It accelerated the rise and encouraged decisions based on growth that could not last. The acquisitions were not automatically a mistake. The danger was buying too many businesses too quickly, while integration and financial control struggled to keep pace. The sponsorships were not the entire problem, but they represented a company spending aggressively to appear global, while its internal weaknesses were becoming harder to ignore. The debt was not the only cause, but once trust broke between the company, its investors, auditors, and lenders, that debt turned every disagreement into a legal battle. Byjus tried to grow like a technology platform, advertise like a consumer giant, acquire like a private equity fund, and operate across education systems around the world, all at the same time. Its greatest strength, relentless ambition, became its greatest weakness. As of July 2026, the ending had still not been written. Lenders were reported to be discussing a possible settlement involving a stake in Akash, but a separate proposed settlement with the BCCI remained unresolved, and the tribunal paused the search for a buyer. The company that once promised to transform how millions of children learned was now being divided, negotiated, and examined by creditors and courts. Byjus did not collapse because its original idea was worthless. It collapsed because success created speed. Speed created complexity, and complexity grew faster than control. The lesson is not that companies should avoid ambition. It is that growth without discipline can turn glory into greed, and greed into ruin.